Welcome. Today we'll see about Linux SSH, how SSH works between two Linux computers or from Windows to Linux computers. We'll see. Let's go to DevOps roadmap. So we are covering this series, and let's go to Linux SSH. So we already know like what is virtual machine, right? Yesterday we have discussed. So let's say we have some big hardware like server. So from that one, we have a tool, the technology like hypervisor. So we can just create lot of small virtual machines from this big server. So either you can, if it's like we have the Windows server, right? So we can create multiple Windows VMs, and if it's a Linux, so we can create multiple Linux virtual machines. So let's consider this is a some Linux server, and we are using hypervisor, and let's create like two Linux virtual machines we have created. Okay. And so this is like the small VMs we can get. So and these kind of setup can be provided in on-premise or in AWS, like any cloud providers like AWS or Azure or GCP. Okay. Today we'll see how to connect between two Linux machines, how to connect from one Linux machine to our next another Linux machine. So one more information I want to give here is like when we tell about like this virtual machine which was created in the cloud, right? Not only cloud, on-premise also. Each machine can be identified using the IP address. So each machine will have their one dedicated IP address that will be unique across the internet. So when the system comes to the public internet, so each system, each server, or each virtual machine will definitely have the public IP address which will be unique. Okay, so that using that IP address, you can talk to the one particular virtual machine. Okay, so for today's discussion, so we multiple times we have seen we just connect to virtual machine using SSH. SSH I heard of. So SSH is basically a secure shell. It is a command line tool to connect to another Linux machine and to run some commands on it. Okay. So let's say currently I'm in Windows machine. Okay, so let's assume this scenario. So I'm having one Windows machine and I want to connect to some Linux machine which I've created from some cloud provider. So today I created a server from Oracle Cloud. So I have created some couple of Linux machine I will use to connect. So from my Windows machine, I will connect to the Linux virtual machine which I created from the Oracle Cloud. Okay. So what are the things first needed? So in your Windows machine, we need something called SSH client. So this SSH works on the process called client server model. So like whoever from where we are like starting the connection, right? That is called the client, and where we are going to connect. So that is called target, or it is called as a server. So in the from Windows machine, I'm going to start the SSH connection. So there the SSH client software should be installed, and in the target the Linux machine, so SSH server should be installed, and that is actually the background process which will be running in the background when this virtual machine is started. So it will just listen on some particular port number, and the process will be like fully running till the system, the virtual machine is running. The process will be keep on running on that, so that when from this machine, when you do the SSH, it can listen and it can do the connection between those two systems. Okay, and in the Linux virtual machine, actually we have two software. One is SSH client, SSH server. So SSH server is used to just give the connectivity. Like from Windows, if you want to do the connection, this SSH server will give the connection and it will be able to connect. But from this virtual machine, if you want to connect to another virtual machine, so that SSH client is needed. Okay. So by default, most of the now Linux system by default comes with both of these packages, SSH client and SSH server, OpenSSH. And we will see one more scenario also from one Linux machine to another Linux machine, how we will connect. So in this case, in this Linux machine, we need SSH client, and in the target Linux machine, we need only SSH server, which will be used to connect and able to connect, and we will get the terminal. Okay. So from this Linux machine, I will connect to this Linux machine, and then I will get the terminal. Okay. We'll see. So currently I have two virtual machines created from Oracle Cloud. Okay, both are Linux machines. So first server is this one, and second one is this one. So I told like everything will be identified by the public IP address. So server one, this is the public IP address, and server 2, this is the public IP address which was created. Okay. In both of the server, I just installed Ubuntu operating system, Ubuntu 22.0.4. We will just connect and then we will go in detail. So in my Windows machine, I'm just opening this Git bash terminal. So you can see currently it's showing as welcome. So basically I'm in my Windows terminal. So this is normal Windows terminal. But here, when I type SSH enter, so you can see some SSH command is installed in Windows machine also, like in my laptop, Windows laptop. So some SSH client is installed. So using this one, you can connect it to the Linux which was created in the some cloud provider. So I'm just providing. Let's copy once again. So SSH-I. So we will discuss later about this key part. So one important thing is like I told if I want to connect to one virtual machine, so this IP address is needed. But within that virtual machine, we already discussed there will be like multiple user. Which user you want to log in? So that we have to give. First the username at the rate that particular server IP address. So then we will be able to SSH into that server. Okay. Now enter. Okay. So now my terminal has changed to Ubuntu @test1. So my new Linux machine which I created is test1, the username. Sorry, the host name and the username is Ubuntu. Okay, so I now connected to that terminal. So actually speaking, this computer, this Linux virtual machine, right, is somewhere running in some other region. So, but even though I'm just sitting in some other place using my Windows machine, I can easily connect to that virtual machine. Okay, so how we can verify? So can/etc was, so we know how to check which operating system was installed. So when we open this particular file, you can see Ubuntu 22.04.2 LTS is already installed. And even host name, we can check test1. So this is my first test server. Okay. And we have seen by default in this one, two things will be installed most of the thing. One is like open SSH client and one is open SSH server. So this is the software which is used to connect to other virtual machines. And this is the background process which listens on port 22 so that your connection can work. Otherwise it will not work. So from here, we are doing the SSH command. First, it will go to this Linux machine, but here someone has to listen for that one. Oh, someone is asking to connect, so I should allow them. Okay, right? So for that, this SSH server process will be running in the background, and that is allowing that one. Okay. So let's check. So this is my terminal. So I'm in Ubuntu test one. So actually here by default both the thing will be installed. So when you type SSH, you can see here also even in my Linux machine, this is SSH client is installed. Now we want to check whether that SSH process is running or not. So you can check with sudo systemctl status SSH. Okay. So it's already running, which is in active state. So that's why from my Windows machine, when I run the command, so this process is listening in this virtual machine and it's allowing the connection. So that's why I'm able to connect from my Windows machine to this Linux machine. Let's and so now this is to check. Okay, now when we tell about this SSH connection between these two servers, they two ways is there to connect. One is using the password, one is using the public and private keys. By default, in most of the Linux servers, the password authentication for SSH will be disabled. So now we will see how to enable the SSH connection using the password. So currently I am using the keys. So I'm just typing exit enter. I'm coming out of the Linux machine. So now I'm in my Windows laptop. Okay. So which command I have executed last time? So I'm just used SSH hyphen. So I have given my private key and username at the rate and the IP address. So using this private key, I'm able to connect to that particular Linux virtual machine. So, but let's say if I erase this private key, so I'm just telling SSH, try to connect to this particular IP address virtual machine, and my username is Ubuntu. Enter. it will not able to connect. So permission denied, public key it's coming. So it's not able to connect. So even it's not asking for password. By default, password is disabled, so it's not able to asking for the password. We'll see how to enable the password authentication. So I'm connecting to that virtual machine using the private key first. I'm connected. Clear. So I'm inside the virtual machine. So we have one special file called for SSH. So we need sudo permission va/etc sshd config. Okay, when we go here, and this is the full configuration for this SSH. So here you can see password authentication. It is no. So we need to change this to yes and save this file. And then you need to restart the SSH process. Sudo systemctl restart SSH. Okay, I have restarted. Now you can check the status. You can see now it is in active running state and I restarted 6 seconds ago. Now I will come out of this server. Okay, so now I'm in my Windows machine. See, let's clear the screen. Sorry, clear. Okay, I'm still in my Windows laptop now. So from here I will run SSH, but now this time I will not use the keys. Okay, instead I am just telling SSH Ubuntu at the rate IP address. Now you can see we have enabled the password, so that's why it is asking for the password. But that machine, even we don't set any password. So currently that Ubuntu user doesn't have any password. So we need to set the password first. So I will SSH into the server using the private key first. Okay, so I'm inside the Linux virtual machine. So for this Ubuntu username, so there is no password set currently. So what we will do, we'll switch to root user first, sudo su. I'm in root user, passwd password, and I'm going to set password for Ubuntu user. I'm just typing the password. I set the password now. So I'm coming out of root user and I'm coming out of the Linux VM. So now I came to my Windows laptop. So now I will do the SSH Ubuntu at the rate IP address. Now it is asking for password and I will type the password. So now I'm connected. So this time without the private key, I'm able to connect to the virtual machine using the password. So like this, you can enable the password authentication. But general password authentication, it's not the recommended approach. So most of the organization, we try to use the passwordless authentication, which is using the private keys. We will see how to generate the keys and how you can do the SSH. So we will see that also.